Welcome, everyone, to Saltwater Stories. Today, we're exploring uh, something truly extraordinary from the ocean depths. Picture a creature that, let's be honest, looks less like an animal and maybe more like a misplaced vegetable on the seafloor.
Mm. Huh. That's one way to put it, yes. Often quite unassuming.
But beneath that unique exterior, it's packing some serious superpowers.
Yeah.
Like, imagine being able to change your body from, I don't know, firm leather to floppy jelly almost instantly.
A very useful trick.
And get this, it breathes through its backside, no joke.
That one always gets a reaction. It's quite the adaptation.
And if things get really, really tough, it can literally eject its own internal organs and then just, poof, grow them all back again.
Remarkable regeneration, truly. Among the best in the animal kingdom.
Okay, enough teasing. Let's really get into this exploration. We're pulling back the curtain on the amazing, the incredible.
The cucumber.
Yes, the sea cucumber. So often overlooked, but as you're saying, and as the sources you sent us show, they're incredibly complex and frankly, critical.
Absolutely. They belong to the class Holothuriidea, and the research really highlights these organisms have ancient roots and just stunning adaptations for survival.
Fantastic. So thank you for sharing these sources with us. Looks like we have excerpts from sea cucumber, in-depth research, and some other related materials. What ground are we going to cover today based on this info?
It seems quite comprehensive, actually. We'll start with the fundamentals. What exactly are they? Where do they live? That sort of thing.
Basics, got it.
Then we'll get into the really fascinating bits, their anatomy, their physiology, including those really unique defense mechanisms and regenerative powers you mentioned.
Sci-fi stuff.
Exactly. And then, crucially, we'll look at their ecological roles, why they matter so much in the ocean, and finally, how humans interact with them, which is, well, it's a complex picture covering everything from food to potential medicines.
Okay, brilliant. So consider this your express lane to understanding these deceptively simple-looking animals. Let's unpack this information and see what essential knowledge we can find. All right, first things first. What is a sea cucumber, scientifically speaking? We know we look a bit strange.
Well, the sources confirm they are echinoderms, so they're related to animals like starfish and sea urchins.
Oh, right, echinoderms. I always picture starfish, the 5 arms. Do sea cucumbers have that?
They do, but it's often much less obvious from the outside. Starfish show that 5-part or pentaradial symmetry very clearly. In many sea cucumbers, that symmetry is more internal, or you might see it reflected in, say, the 5 rows of tube feet some species have running along their body.
2 feet, like the little suction cup things starfish use to walk around.
Exactly the same principle. They have a water vascular system, this network of internal canals filled with fluid that powers those tube feet for locomotion. Slow locomotion, mind you.
Crawling along the bottom.
Precisely. And they also use modified tube feet around their mouth for feeding, which we can get into.
Okay, but unlike starfish or sea urchins, they don't have that hard, spiky shell, right? They seem soft.
Generally, yes, they lack a rigid external skeleton. But their skin isn't just, mush. It contains these tiny microscopic skeletal elements called ossicles. Think of them like little plates or rods embedded within the tissue.
Ah, so like built-in structural bits, but tiny.
Exactly. They provide some support, maybe some protection, and the shape and arrangement of these ossicles are actually really important for scientists trying to identify different species.
Speaking of species,
Yeah.
how many kinds are we talking about here? Is it just a few types?
Oh, far from it. The diversity is huge. The research estimates over 1,700 species described worldwide. Maybe more waiting to be discovered.
1,700, wow. And do they all look like the, standard cucumber shape?
Mostly that elongated cylindrical form, yes, but with lots of variation in color, texture, and size.
Size, how big or small can they get?
The range is incredible. You have tiny species, like one called Rhabdomulgus ruber, that are only a few millimeters long, barely visible.
Like a grain of rice, maybe?
Even smaller sometimes. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have giants like Synapta maculata, which can apparently reach over 3 meters in length.
Whoa, hang on, 3 meters. That's like 10 feet for a sea cucumber.
It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But yes, some of these species, particularly in deeper waters or tropical areas, can get astonishingly long. Imagine encountering that.
I'm trying. That changes my mental image quite a bit. Okay, so huge variety. Where do all these different types live? Are they picky about their homes?
Surprisingly, no. They are remarkably widespread. According to the sources, you can find sea cucumbers in practically every marine environment on Earth.
Every single one.
Pretty much. From shallow tide pools that get exposed at low tide, right down to the crushing depths of the abyssal plains. thousands and thousands of meters below the surface.
That's incredible range. What about different climates?
Yep. Tropical coral reefs, freezing polar seas, temperate zones, seagrass beds, muddy bottoms, sandy flats. They're truly cosmopolitan.
So you could find them basically anywhere you go swimming or diving in saltwater.
There's a very good chance, yes. The fact that the sources mention they're present in most U.S. national marine sanctuaries except the freshwater ones obviously really drives home how ubiquitous they are.
What allows them to be so adaptable?
Mm.
To live in freezing water and tropical water, deep pressure and shallow zones.
Well, the sources point to a few key things. Tolerance to different temperatures is obviously one factor. Food availability is another. They need something to eat wherever they are. Salinity, the saltiness of the water, plays a role too.
Okay.
Their life cycle also helps. Many have planktonic larvae, tiny versions that drift in the water currents. This helps them spread far and wide.
Ah, hitching a ride on the current.
Exactly. But fundamentally, their success across such diverse habitats points to some serious physiological adaptability. They've evolved ways to cope with huge variations in pressure, temperature, oxygen levels, and the type of food available.
Can you give an example? Like, how does a deep sea one differ from a shallow water one?
Sure, some deep-sea species, for instance, have developed more gelatinous, almost neutrally buoyant bodies to handle the immense pressure and conserve energy. Whereas an intertidal species living near the shore has to be tough enough to handle wave action and potential drying out when the tide goes out.
So different species are specialized for different conditions, which also means different threats, maybe.
Precisely. A species on a shallow coral reef faces very different challenges, like warming waters or coastal pollution, compared to one living on the deep-sea floor. Understanding their distribution is key to understanding the conservation challenges, too.
Right. Okay. That gives us a great picture of what they are and where they hang out. Now, let's get into the really cool stuff, their biology and those weird powers you mentioned earlier. This ability to change their body stiffness. That sounds like science fiction.
It really does, doesn't it? But it's a well-documented biological phenomenon. The sources call it their catch collagen, or more formally, mutable collagenous tissue, MCT.
Mutable, so changeable collagen. How does it work? Is it fast?
Incredibly fast. We're talking seconds or minutes. It's under direct nervous control. They can essentially tell the collagen fibers in their body wall to either lock together tightly, making the body stiff and rigid, or to loosen their grip, making the body soft and pliable.
Wow. So they can consciously decide to be firm or floppy?
Mm.
Why? What's the advantage?
It's hugely advantageous for survival. Imagine you're a slow-moving, soft-bodied creature on the ocean floor. You're pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, sounds like an easy snack.
Right. So if a predator comes along, the sea cucumber can rapidly loosen its body, allowing it to squeeze into an incredibly narrow crack in a rock or burrow down into the sediment, places a predator can't reach.
Okay, so like becoming liquidish to escape.
Kind of. And then once it's safely inside that refuge, it can stiffen its body again. This makes it almost impossible for a predator to pull it back out. It provides rigidity and protection.
That's genius. It's like having shape-shifting armor. Do we know how they control it, like chemically?
Yes, the sources mention specific proteins involved. There's one called tensilin, which seems to promote the stiffening process, locking those collagen fibers together. And another protein, aptly named softenin, appears to do the opposite, causing the tissue to soften.
Tensilin and softenin. Simple names for a complex process.
It highlights the intricate molecular control they have over their body structure. It's a really significant evolutionary innovation for their lifestyle, living exposed on the seabed as they often do.
Absolutely fascinating.
Okay.
Moving on to the next weird ability, breathing. You confirmed it through the rear end.
Yes, for most species, that's correct. They don't have gills like fish or lungs like us on their front end. Instead, they have these internal structures called respiratory trees.
Respiratory trees.
Yeah,
Like branching tubes.
exactly. Highly branched, thin-walled tubes that connect to their cloaca. That's the multi-purpose opening near the anus that handles waste removal too. They actively pump seawater in through the anus, circulate it through these respiratory trees where gas exchange happens, oxygen in, carbon dioxide out, and then pump the water back out through the anus.
So they're constantly inhaling and exhaling water through their backside.
That's the mechanism, yes. It seems strange to us, but it works effectively for them.
Does that cause any problems?
Yeah.
Having your breathing apparatus connected to your exit route?
It creates a unique situation, biologically speaking. As the sources note, This opening is essential for respiration and excretion, but it does present a potential vulnerability.
How so?
Well, it's an opening into the body cavity. And some other creatures have figured this out. Pearlfish are the classic example.
Pearlfish, what do they do?
They're small, slender fish that are known to actually swim into the sea cucumber's cloaca and take up residence inside the respiratory trees.
Wait, they live inside the sea cucumber's breathing organs.
Sometimes, yes, it can be what's called commensalism, like the fish just gets shelter and doesn't harm the host. But in other cases, it's definitely parasitic. The pearlfish might nibble on the respiratory trees or even the gonads of the sea cucumber.
Oh, that's awful. So you're breathing through your butt, and you might have a freeloader fish living in there eating your inside.
And nature can be harsh. It's a very specialized interaction, but it happens. Adds another layer of weirdness to the sea cucumber story, doesn't it?
It really, really does. Okay, deep breaths. Not through my butt. Let's talk feeding. How do they get food? You mentioned special tentacles.
Yes, they don't have jaws or teeth like many animals. Instead, they use modified tube feet around their mouth. These are elaborated into structures called oral tentacles.
And these tentacles grab food.
Essentially, yes. But their shape and how they're used depends very much on the species and its feeding strategy, as the sources explain.
Okay, what are the main strategies?
The most common strategy by far is deposit feeding. Most sea cucumbers are deposit feeders.
Meaning they eat deposits,
Yeah.
like mud and sand.
Pretty much. They use tentacles that are often shield-shaped or branched like little fingers to essentially mop up the surface layer of sediment off the seafloor.
Just scooping up everything.
They ingest large quantities of sediment, yes. They then pass it through their digestive system, extracting the nutritious bits, organic matter, bacteria, microalgae, tiny organisms, and then they excrete the clean sediment, often as little pellets or castings.
So that's where the Roombas of the reef idea comes from.
Exactly. That analogy in the source material is quite fitting informally. They're constantly cleaning the seabed, processing huge volumes of material.
Are they just mindlessly eating dirt, though? Or is there more to it?
That's a good question. Research suggests they're not entirely indiscriminate. Some studies indicate they can actually be selective, preferring to feed in patches where the sediment is richer in organic matter or has a higher nutritional content.
So they can sort of taste or sense where the good stuff is.
It seems likely they have chemosensory abilities that help them find the best feeding spots. So not just mindless eating, no, more like targeted grazing of the seafloor.
Okay, that's deposit feeding. What's the other way?
A smaller number of species are suspension feeders. These typically live in areas with stronger currents.
And they filter stuff out of the water?
Correct. They have highly branched, often feathery or tree-like tentacles that they extend up into the water column to capture floating particles, phytoplankton, zooplankton, detritus. They then bring the tentacles back to the mouth to wipe off the captured food.
Two main ways then. Cleaning the floor or filtering the water. Got it. Now, the most dramatic power, evisceration, expelling their organs. Let's unpack that. Why would any creature do this?
It sounds completely counterproductive to survival, doesn't it? But evisceration is one of their primary, albeit extreme, defense mechanisms, clearly detailed in the sources.
Defense. How is throwing out your guts defensive?
Well, when a sea cucumber is under severe stress, like being attacked or persistently harassed by a predator, say, a crab or a fish, it can forcibly contract its body wall muscles and eject a portion of its internal organs.
Which organs usually get the boot?
Typically, it's parts of the digestive tract, the respiratory trees, and sometimes even the gonads. This expulsion usually happens out through the anus, although some species can apparently do it through the mouth then too.
Okay. But why? What does that achieve?
Several potential things. Firstly, the sudden expulsion can startle the predator. Secondly, the ejected organs are often sticky, sometimes toxic, and can entangle the predator, physically hindering it.
Like throwing sticky spaghetti at your attacker.
Something like that. It distracts the predator, giving the sea cucumber a chance to escape, while the predator is dealing with this messy, possibly unpalatable offering.
Are the organs themselves toxic sometimes?
They can be. And this connects to another defensive strategy. Many sea cucumbers produce chemical defenses, specifically toxins called holothurins. These are types of saponins.
Allosamins.
These toxins can be concentrated in the body wall, making the whole cucumber taste bad or be poisonous. But some species also concentrate these toxins in specialized structures called Cuvierian tubules.
Cuvierian tubules, what are those?
They're sticky, thread-like tubes located near the base of the respiratory trees in some species. When threatened, the sea cucumber can expel these tubules out through the anus. They rapidly elongate and become incredibly sticky upon contact with seawater, effectively ensnaring predators like crabs or lobsters in a toxic, gummy mess.
Wow. So they have toxic sticky strings plus the organ expulsion option. They're well armed, defensively speaking.
In their own unique way, yes. Between the mutable skin, the toxins, the Cuvierian tubules, and evisceration, they have a suite of defenses against things that want to eat them. The sources even caution that humans should be careful handling some species, as these holothurans can cause skin irritation or eye damage.
Good to know. But the biggest question remains. If they throw out their digestive system and their breathing system, how do they survive that? How do they not just die?
And this leads us to perhaps their most extraordinary ability of all. Regeneration.
The power to regrow things.
And how? Sea cucumbers possess some of the most extensive regenerative capabilities known in the entire animal kingdom. They don't just survive losing those major internal organs, they can completely regrow them.
Completely, like build a whole new digestive tract from scratch.
Yes. The entire gut, the respiratory trees, the gonads if they were lost, it's a total rebuild.
That's astounding. Does it stop there? Can they regrow other parts?
It gets even more amazing. Research shows they can regenerate parts of their nervous system too, including the main nerve ring that encircles their esophagus, essentially, their equivalent of a central processing unit.
They can regrow their brain.
Functionally speaking, yes, parts of their central nervous system. This capacity is almost unheard of to this degree in complex animals.
How long does this incredible regeneration take? Is it quick?
No, it's not an overnight process. It takes time. Depending on the species, how much was lost, and factors like water temperature and food availability, it can take anywhere from a few weeks to several months to fully regenerate the lost structures.
Weeks to months. So they have to survive without eating or breathing normally during that time?
They likely reduce their metabolic rate significantly and rely on stored energy reserves. They might be able to absorb some nutrients through their skin too, but yes, it's a period of vulnerability while they rebuild.
How do they even do it? What's the mechanism?
The sources indicate it involves complex cellular processes. Specialized cells migrate to the site of injury, dedifferentiate, meaning they become less specialized, and then proliferate and redifferentiate to form the new tissues and organs. It's almost like they're rerunning parts of their embryonic development program.
Wow. Reactivating their baby-making instructions to fix themselves as adults.
That's a good way to think about it. And this incredible ability is precisely why sea cucumbers are of such intense interest to scientists studying regenerative medicine. If we could understand how they manage this feat, especially regenerating nerve tissue, the implications for human health could be enormous.
Absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, so these creatures are biological marvels, changing skin, butt breathing, self-evisceration, total regeneration.
Yeah.
But beyond being weird and wonderful, what role do they actually play in the ocean? Are they important ecologically?
Oh, incredibly important. The research leaves no doubt about that. They are often described as ecosystem engineers and vital recyclers or bioturbators.
Ecosystem engineers,
Yeah.
meaning they actually change their environment.
Yes, significantly. Primarily through their feeding activities, especially the deposit feeders. Remember how they process huge amounts of sediment?
The underwater Roombas.
Exactly. That constant churning and processing of the top layer of sediment is called bioturbation. It has major positive effects. Well, it mixes the sediment layers, preventing them from becoming compacted. It helps oxygen penetrate deeper into the sediment, which is crucial for the tiny organisms living there. It also prevents the buildup of excess organic matter on the surface, which could otherwise lead to anoxia, a lack of oxygen, creating dead zones on the seafloor.
So they're basically tilling the ocean garden, keeping the soil healthy.
An excellent analogy. And by digesting the organic matter and then excreting waste, they also release nutrients that were locked up in the sediment back into the water column in a form that phytoplankton and other primary producers can use. They're nutrient cyclers.
Cleaning and fertilizing. They're really working hard down there.
They really are. And this cleaning function is especially critical in sensitive habitats like coral reefs. The sources mention they consume detritus, algae, and excess organic material that could otherwise smother corals or fuel the growth of bacteria that cause coral diseases.
So removing sea cucumbers could actually make reefs sicker.
Some studies cited strongly suggest that, yes, reefs where sea cucumbers have been overfished have sometimes shown higher rates of coral disease. They play a direct role in reef health.
That's huge. Anything else?
Well, there's a really fascinating, more recent area of research mentioned their potential role in counteracting ocean acidification on a local scale.
Ocean acidification.
Yeah.
That's the problem with CO2 making seawater more acidic,
Yeah.
harming shells and corals, right?
Exactly, and it's a major global threat. But studies are showing that as sea cucumbers digest all that organic matter, which contains calcium carbonate from shells, et cetera, and then excrete waste, their metabolic processes can actually release dissolved inorganic carbon and increase the alkalinity, the buffering capacity of the water immediately around them.
So there because poop helps make the water less acidic.
In essence, yes. Their digestive processes can create little localized patches of seawater that are slightly less acidic or better buffered against becoming acidic. It's not going to solve the global problem, of course, but on a reef scale, this could provide small refuges or slightly better conditions for corals and other calcifying organisms nearby.
Wow. They're like tiny mobile antacid factories for the reef.
Huh. That's a novel way to put it, but it captures the idea. It's another vital service they might be providing that we're only just beginning to fully appreciate.
Incredible. So they clean, they recycle nutrients, they protect corals, they might even buffer acidity. Do they fit into the food web anywhere? Does anything eat them?
Oh, yes. Despite their defenses, they are prey for a variety of animals. Certain species of sea stars are major predators. Some large crabs and fish will eat them. Sea turtles are known to consume them. And even some marine mammals, like sea otters in certain areas, will prey on sea cucumbers.
So they are a food source too.
They are. And beyond that, they also provide habitat for other creatures. Their bodies can act as surfaces for algae or small invertebrates to settle on. And as we mentioned, they host numerous symbionts, those pearlfish living inside, but also tiny crabs, worms, copepods that live on their skin or within their body cavities. The sources mention over 200 species recorded live with or on sea cucumbers. They're like little mobile homes contributing to overall biodiversity.
Okay, so ecologically, they're way more important than most people probably realize. Essential workers of the seafloor.
That sums it up nicely.
Taking all this importance and their unique biology.
Yeah.
How do humans fit into the picture? Are we interacting with them much?
We interact with them very significantly. The biggest interaction, globally speaking, is harvesting them for food.
Right, you mentioned that earlier, mostly in Asia.
Primarily, yes, particularly in East and Southeast Asia. The dried body wall product known widely as bêche de mer, or sometimes trepang, is considered a luxury food item, especially in Chinese cuisine.
Bêche de mer. Seaworm, basically. And it's prized for texture, not taste. That still seems odd for a delicacy.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? But the sources confirm this. The product itself, once dried and then rehydrated, which is a laborious process taking days, is fairly flavorless. Its value lies in its gelatinous, slightly springy or chewy texture, and its ability to soak up the flavors of the rich sauces and broths it's typically cooked in.
So it's like a flavor sponge with a special mouthfeel.
Exactly. And that unique quality, combined with cultural significance and perceived health benefits, drives a huge international market worth hundreds of millions of dollars annually.
Wow. Are there other uses besides luxury food?
Yes. There's a long history of using sea cucumbers in traditional medicine systems across Asia and the Pacific. Preparations like gamet in Malaysia, for instance, use sea cucumber extracts for things like wound healing, arthritis relief, fatigue, and general wellness.
Traditional remedies. Does modern science back any of that up?
Well, that traditional use has definitely spurred a lot of modern scientific investigation. And yes, researchers are finding that sea cucumbers are packed with bioactive compounds, chemicals that have effects on living tissues.
Like what kind of compounds?
A whole range. The sources particularly highlight tridopene glycosides, also called saponins. These are the same types of compounds related to the holothurian toxins. In laboratory studies, various saponins extracted from sea cucumbers have shown potential anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antifungal, and even antiviral properties.
Anti-cancer. From a sea cucumber.
Potentially, yes. The source material mentions one specific compound, frondoside A, isolated from a North Atlantic species, Cucumeria frondosa, which has shown really potent activity against various cancer cell lines in preclinical studies. It's just one example of many being investigated.
That's incredible. Reef cleaner to potential cancer fighter. What else are they finding?
There are also rich sources of compounds called glycosaminoglycans, or JAGs. You might recognize one type chondroitin sulfate, which is often used as a supplement for joint health. Sea cucumbers have this, but also unique variations, like fucosylated chondroitin sulfate.
And what do those do?
These JAGs are showing interesting anti-inflammatory effects.
Yeah.
And some, particularly those unique fucosylated ones, have demonstrated potent anticoagulant properties, meaning they prevent blood clotting, similar in action to the drug heparin. So there's interest in them for cardiovascular health or developing new anti-clotting agents.
Wow. Any other goodies?
Yes, they also contain unique peptides, essential fatty acids like EPA, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. They're really quite nutrient-dense and chemically diverse. Over 300 different saponins alone have been identified across various species.
That sounds like a biological treasure chest.
It really does seem that way. And what's also interesting, as highlighted in the sources, is that many of these valuable compounds aren't just in the body wall that's used for food. The internal organs, the viscera, which are often discarded during processing for Beshemer. They're also packed with nutrients in these bioactive molecules.
So the bits thrown away might be just as valuable.
Potentially, yes. This is leading to research on waste-to-value approaches. Could these byproducts be used to create nutritional supplements, additives for animal feed, components for cosmetics, or even serve as sources for specific compounds like testosterone, which is apparently found in the viscera of some species? It could make the whole fishery more sustainable and less wasteful.
Okay, so we have ecologically vital, a traditional luxury food, and a potential source of future medicines and health products. That sounds like a recipe for high demand.
Exactly. And that high demand, especially for the Beshemer trade, has put immense pressure on wild sea cucumber populations around the world.
Pressure meaning overfishing.
Yes, significant overfishing. The sources describe a classic boom and bust pattern in many sea cucumber fisheries. A valuable species is discovered, fishing effort ramps up intensely, the population crashes, and then the fishery moves on to another species or another location.
That sounds unsustainable. Are many species in trouble?
Sadly, yes. A number of the most commercially valuable species are now listed by the IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, as vulnerable or even endangered. And several species are now included in the site's appendices, which means international trade in them is regulated to try and prevent further decline.
Why are they so vulnerable to overfishing? Is it just taking too many?
Taking too many is the core issue, but their biology makes them particularly susceptible. As the sources emphasize, reducing the number of adults in an area, the density is a huge problem for them.
Why is density so important?
Because most sea cucumbers are broadcast spawners. This means they release their eggs and sperm directly into the seawater, and fertilization happens externally in the water column. If the adult sea cucumbers are too far apart from each other because their numbers have been depleted by fishing, the chances of sperm finding and fertilizing an egg become very, very low. There's a critical density needed for successful reproduction.
So even if there are some left, if they're too spread out, they can't make babies effectively.
Precisely. This is known as the alley effect. Below a certain population density, the reproductive rate plummets, making it incredibly difficult for the population to recover, even if fishing pressure is reduced or stopped altogether.
That makes recovery really challenging.
Extremely challenging. And on top of the fishing pressure, you also have potential threats from habitat degradation, pollution, and climate change impacts like warming waters and ocean acidification, which could further stress these populations.
And the search for those medicinal compounds, does that add more pressure too?
It could, yes. Bioprospecting searching for valuable natural compounds is exciting, but if it leads to large-scale harvesting of wild populations without sustainable management plans, it just exacerbates the overfishing problem.
Is farming them, aquaculture, an option?
It's definitely being developed, and there's progress. The sources mention efforts to farm species like the sandfish, Holothurius scabra, and the Japanese sea cucumber, Apostisia bistoponicus. Aquaculture could potentially relieve pressure on wild stocks and provide a consistent supply.
But, sounds like there's a but.
But it faces significant hurdles. Successfully breeding them in captivity and especially raising the tiny, vulnerable larval stages through to juveniles is often difficult and costly. Getting the feeding right, controlling diseases, it's complex. So while aquaculture is growing, it's not yet a complete solution for meeting demand or replacing wild harvest entirely for most species.
Wow, okay. This has been, well, a truly fascinating exploration. The sea cucumber is just so much more than meets the eye, isn't it?
Absolutely. From their bizarre and brilliant biology, the mutable skin, the regeneration, to their absolutely crucial roles keeping ocean ecosystems functioning, and then this complex relationship with humans. They are truly remarkable animals.
Regenerating organs, cleaning the seafloor, maybe fighting ocean acidification locally, holding potential cures for diseases. It's just layers upon layers of importance.
It really is. They sit at this amazing crossroads of ecology, evolutionary biology, traditional knowledge, and cutting-edge biotechnology. Their story really highlights how interconnected everything is in the marine world, and how much potential value, both ecological and economic, might be hidden in seemingly simple creatures.
So thinking about everything we've covered from these sources you shared, here's something for you, our listeners, to really mull over. We've learned how vital sea cucumbers are for the health of critical habitats, like coral reefs, irreplaceable cleaning crews, nutrient cyclers, maybe even tiny buffers against acidification. We also know they're increasingly sought after for food and hold immense promise for new medicines. Given all that, what happens if we lose them? What are the real cascading consequences for the oceans and for us if the combined pressures of overfishing, habitat loss, and climate change push more of these unique and vital species towards the brink? What ecological stability, what potential medical breakthroughs might we be sacrificing without even fully understanding what we had? It certainly gives you a new perspective on that humble cucumber on the seabed, doesn't it? A huge thank you for sending in the sources that sparked this whole exploration. It's been absolutely fantastic delving into this topic. We hope you feel enlightened and maybe even a little bit amazed by the world of the sea cucumber.
It was a genuine pleasure to discuss this research. Truly fascinating organisms.
Absolutely. So until our next journey into the wonders revealed by your source materials, keep those questions coming, stay curious, and never stop exploring the incredible world beneath the waves.
Wow.
Thanks for tuning in to Saltwater Stories. Bye for now.
Farewell, everyone.